G'day ladies and gents and welcome to Aussie Real Talk, where today we're booting up the PS5 and diving into High on Life 2. I was a big fan of the first game, the crude humour, the talking gun gimmick, the colourful wacky worlds, and the unique mechanics made it a fun and entertaining experience. So I was keen to finally get my hands on a copy of the sequel, the physical version coming months after its digital release. Does it achieve what every sequel sets out to do, improve upon the original? Well, admittedly, as the credits rolled after its roughly 10-hour campaign, I was left feeling disappointed, bored, and honestly, a bit exhausted. The game sticks closely to the original's formula, but much of the novelty is worn thin, and the new additions deliver mixed results. The story once again follows your faceless mute protagonist, now an infamous outlaw after breaking the one major bounty hunter rule: don't harm other bounty hunters. As you're hunted by all sorts of alien threats, your main target becomes Rhea Pharmaceuticals, a corporation intent on wiping out humans and turning them into pills for alien use. With help from Jean and your sister Lizzie, you take down key members of the organization, one mission at a time. Returning Gatlians include Gus, Sweezy, Creature, and for better or worse, Knifey. So what's new? The biggest addition is traversal. Early on, you're given a skateboard, which replaces traditional sprinting. A bit awkward at first, but once you get used to the mechanics, the board is really fun, letting you zip around environments, grind rails, and even attack enemies mid-combat. It adds some much needed energy to movement. You can customize it too, though that feels a bit pointless in a first-person game where you rarely see it. There are also new Gatlians. Travis and Jan are a dual-wielded, bickering married couple, which creates some amusing back and forth. Sheath, voiced by Ralph Ineson, feels like a burst fire weapon straight out of Halo. Later on you get Bowie, a bow and arrow weapon with a very Jar Jar Binks style look, a similarity that is joked about in the game. An attempt at clever, self-aware humour to hide the game's laziness? Maybe. Nevertheless, each comes with unique abilities, often used for puzzles and traversal. So where does it fall apart? A lot of what made the first game feel fresh is heavily recycled here. The same style of jokes, the same structure, the same types of encounters, but rarely hitting the same highs. There are still a few clever moments, like a boss fight that takes place within the pause menu and settings, but they're few and far between. What was once funny, like guns commenting on your inactivity, now feels more annoying than ever. And that word, annoying, pops up a lot in my mind when describing parts of this game. Characters like Knifey are really overused and painfully unfunny this time around. There are still some decent missions and story points, particularly involving the protagonist's parents like your father's cult mishaps, but they're not enough to carry the entire experience. Technically, the game is rough. I haven't had this many issues on PS5 before ever. I'm reminded of the days I had an Xbox 360. Frame rate drops, frozen loading screens, broken mechanics, and missing triggers are all too common. There were multiple instances where I got stuck and had to restart from a checkpoint just to progress. It feels unfinished, and that's frustrating after paying full price. Level design doesn't help either. It's repetitive and clunky, with constant interruptions to flow. Finish a mission, load. Go to sleep, load. Travel to a new area, load again. It all feels disjointed and sluggish. On the note of new areas, the maps this time round are far less interesting. City spaces are scarcely populated. Much of the infrastructure isn't accessible, and you are constantly made to travel around Circuit Arcadia, which is bland and lifeless. But the biggest issue is the writing, not just in terms of quality, spark, and humour, but the quantity. Large chunks of the game involve standing around while characters monologue at you. With very few cutscenes, exposition is dumped through static dialogue sequences that drag on far too long. Adding insult to injury, the final act leans heavily into this by pulling a Seinfeld with a courtroom sequence that feels like it goes literally forever. You're forced to sit and listen to lawyers speak, witness statements, and defendant speeches, all from characters you met at one point or another throughout the campaign. This is followed by a boss fight that definitely can't recover the momentum. You're playing through it mentally switched off. The game is audacious enough to joke about how players are forced to sit through all this writing, but instead of this self-aware reference being clever, it just feels frustrating. Such quips or jabs are not nearly as sharp or funny as the game thinks they are. Real talk, High on Life 2 tries to be a bigger, better sequel, but ends up feeling like a lesser version of the hilarious, innovative original. The humour is weaker, the novelty is worn off, and while some new gameplay ideas show promise, they don't redeem the slow story or wordy dialogue. Add in technical issues and pacing problems, and it's a pretty rough experience overall. There are still flashes of creativity and fun, but not enough to save the game. It's average at best without the glitches and bugs. Aussie Real Talk gives High on Life 2 in its release date a 2 out of 5. What did you think of this one? Better or worse than the original? Let us know in the comments, and if you enjoyed this review, feel free to like and subscribe. Cheers.